Everyone, welcome to our channel. We are the Late Night Movie Service. It is an honor to be with you all this evening or morning or whenever you guys are watching this. I'm your host Diego.
I'm your host Joaquin.
And guys, while spooky season may be over, the season of Thanksgiving is upon us. So what better way to give thanks than be thankful for our little man in a top hat, Art the Clown. So ladies and gentlemen, Art the Clown. Did you
Where's he at?
Did you pay him? Did you send him the Venmo? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. So the plan today is to go over all three movies. We've seen the third one together, so we're all ready to talk about all of them. But for this first movie, let me tell y'all the synopsis. And of course, for all these movies, spoilers ahead, we'll be getting into plenty spoilers. So let's get into it. So this first movie follows two girls who wind up at a pizza place on Halloween night where they encounter Art the Clown, who's a mime, and stalks them, kidnaps them, and does vicious things for the rest of the night. Ruh-roh! Cue Scooby-Doo walking in. Oh, zoink, Scoob!
We can't afford our...
Anyways, what do you think about the first movie?
Oh, I really like it. Hold on. Immediately I'm like, oh, I really like it. And then right after,
Well, actually, so it has its issues, no doubt. This first movie, let me look it up.
very much has its issues. Although there's a lot of good things about this movie, there's a lot of bad things. Yeah.
So actually, this first movie had a budget of $35,000, which was made in 2016, but even for its time, is so incredibly low. It's actually kind of a miracle. They were able to pull off half the stuff they were able to do in this movie, especially with the gore and visual effects. But yeah, by today's standards, it really is, by all definition, a low-budget movie, and quite literally, it feels like a low-budget movie in every aspect. But I really am surprised to see how many great things that were able to be accomplished in this movie. First and foremost, with David Howard Thornton's performance of Art the Clown. I think his casting is one of the most underrated in recent years, you know? It truly encapsulates what this movie and this whole franchise in general is about. It's so hilarious just watching this clown who doesn't talk. We don't know anything about him, even after 3 movies. Is he human? You know, what is he exactly? And I think the mystery of that is perfectly encapsulated with David's performance. What do you think?
Yeah, the movie relies a lot on David to do a lot of the dirty work.
Yeah.
Quite literally in the movie. And, I mean, he just does such a great job carrying this movie on his back. Now, although it's not just Art the Clown, but, you know, mainly that's what you're there for.
Exactly. I mean, in all honesty, so let me jump into the story here really quick. The story here is almost non-existent, all right? We follow these two girls, the first half of the movie on Halloween night, and then we get to that midpoint, and the big old twist of this movie is showing how it's different from the rest of the horror movies of recent years, and it's different from these tropes that have been laid out in horror movies in the 80s, which I know this movie is really inspired by the slasher genre. So at this midpoint, Art pulls out a and kills our supposed final girl, being kind of like an FU to a lot of those similar tropes that were played out in movies like that. And the second half of this movie follows her sister, who's been looking for her, and we honestly don't know nothing about her. And for me, that really tanks the movie, because we don't know anything about this character. We don't really feel a whole lot for her. We're not like, oh yay, woo, find your sister. Her sister's dead. I don't personally feel a need to care about this character. And the story from here on out is just, it's weird. There's like an old lady, there's a baby. You get a funny moment out of that when Art is trying to like cradle the baby, and he's just like, there you go. But I mean, there's plenty of funny moments throughout, but I think with this movie, its story is just so bland, and similar to its writing, it plays it safe most of the times. It's trying to be like, oh yeah, we're different, we don't follow these tropes, but yet they make its 3 main characters all personality based on tropes. You know, the dumb blonde friend, the supposed final girl, and then the real final girl. It's like, we've seen these characters before, so while you're trying to separate yourself from the competition, you're not really doing that good of a job in the other arenas in terms of writing and storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, that's right on the nose. I think it would have been better if, going back to the twist at the end where, it switches Final Girls, it would have been very interesting if we found out with Victoria that her sister is dead,
Right.
instead of showing us beforehand and then going into it, because then there's no surprise, there's no tension, there's no anything really, because you already know what's going to happen. You can already guess where it's going, and that makes it a lot less interesting. But what reels it back in are the effects, Art the Clown,
Exactly.
and just the strong creative voice behind the movie.
Right. Right. And I mean, this movie really gets its personality from, like I said at the beginning, all the gore, all the visual effects, especially with that upside down hanging scene. There's a lot to love about this movie, and while it does fall flat in many, many, many crucial areas a movie should be strong in, it is a fun watch, a fun little Halloween treat, as I'd like to say. But what do you think about the ranking of this movie? Out of 10.
Personally, I give this movie a very strong 6 out of 10.
I got to agree with you. It's the same score for me, 6 out of 10, and I think that's all right for a starting basis.
It's a very solid movie.
It's solid in the ways that counts, in my opinion. It does what you've come for a horror movie. It's not the most rewatchable thing ever, but it is fun in the ways that count. So with the second movie, set a few years after the first one, resurrected Art the Clown, along with the help of his little mini-me this time around, terrorized the town of Miles County once again, running into the timid Sienna and her brother Jonathan, setting his sights on her and her family. What do we think about this one?
Although I really enjoy part 1, even with its flaws and everything, part 2, honestly, I would say it's my favorite. I think it just depends on what day you catch me on.
That's valid.
But, I mean, this one, I had a lot of fun watching it, except the first time I watched it, which is kind of funny, but,
Yeah.
I've seen this twice now.
I've only seen it once. Maybe I'll like it better on the second time, but I'll let you.
I definitely think you would, because the first time while watching it, the issues that you have with it, it drags, the pacing's really bad, it's too long. They definitely could have edited, I don't know, like 15 to 25 solid minutes out of it.
Right. Well, the hour is 2 hours and 20 minutes, but yet it feels like 3.
3.5.
3.5. It feels like a Scorsese epic.
Yes.
Without the character depth and writing.
Yeah, when there's no need for that. All that aside, with the second viewing watching it, the movie felt better paced. The acting was fun. It toes a line between cheesy and campy, but also not too much to where you're able to, still focus on the plot, still be able to be, into the movie, fully engulfed in it. The effects are, I mean, I'm just, you show me clips from the Terrifier.
The upside down cut in half kill from the first one was iconic, but this one, I think, really does take the cake with its bedroom kill.
Yeah, it's awesome. Everything about...
I cannot look at Salt the same way.
Yes. That entire
Bleach.
scene. Or Bleach.
Or bedroom furnishing.
Forever scarred.
Forever scarred.
Thank you, Art.
Thanks, Art.
Yeah, there's a lot of things about this movie that's iconic. This movie really helped launch Art into...
His stardom
for a lot of people. Although it's a huge breakout movie for the Terrifier series and Art the Clown, it's not quite there as it is with this, with part 3.
Agreed.
In terms of, how big it is.
Yeah.
But, man, I do remember when this movie came out in theaters and just everyone losing their stuff about it. And this movie, I mean, although I knew about the Terrifier and Art the Clown, I hadn't watched the movie or known too much about it. But with this one, it helped me put Art into
perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I was working in a theater at the time when this movie came out, and all these reports were going out, like, oh yeah, everyone's puking and pissing and shitting and farting in this movie. There's doo-doo on the walls, and it's like, well, I doubt that. But no, actually, when I went to go clean one of the showings, they looked like baby puke on the floor, like maybe like mucus or whatever. And I was just like, ew. That's true. I mean, it really is the stigma when this movie was coming out, how it's the scariest, goriest movie of all time. And I mean, to its credit, it is a very scary, gory movie. And like you said, this one's a step up from the previous one. A lot of aspects are very, very, very much so improved from last time around. Sienna and Jonathan, they have such a great family dynamic in here. Seeing the way they take on Art the Clown, especially in the final act, is a really cool thing. Also to like get to know these characters for who they are. They share this shared trauma over the loss of their father, and it really does put into perspective how human these characters are this time around versus the previous one. Now there is the whole thing of their mom, which I think the mom trope kind of gets a little tiring here because her and Sienna butt heads a few times, and it really just is kind of the same argument over and over and over again. Just
That's
like,
really their entire dialogue.
with different words. It's like meh 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 meh. All right, the next time the argument happens, meh 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 meh. Okay, what was established there? Nothing, But whatever that lacks, it makes up with Sienna and her friends. We get a nice, hilarious little moment when Sienna and her friends go to the Halloween shop with Art trying on the glasses and all that, being all goofy and fun. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of fun to be had in this movie. It's just when the lows get really low, it sticks with you. So we've already talked about the runtime, how it feels far too long for a movie with not too much substance to really go over. There's also a lot of unanswered questions, like what happened to the little girl? What's her backstory really? And this movie never really cares to explain it. We get the third one and she's not in it, so that felt like a weird one and done kind of thing just to put in there. Also, I think the finale really sinks the boat for me on this one. I think it's a very drawn out little chase. It's got the whole trope of like, oh yeah, we're gonna kill him, and oh, he's on the ground, he's dead. No, he's not actually dead. He's got to get up like 15 more times, and it's an annoying trope for a franchise that wants to break all these tropes and show how different they are when they can't seem to shake their amateurness and just low budget way of going about doing this movie. It has its pros, but it also has a fair amount of cons.
Yeah, that's a really great way to put, this movie and everything that it does right and wrong. Pretty spot on the nose.
On the art nose.
On the art nose, yes.
What looks like Gru? What if Gru is actually Art the Clown?
What in the fuck?
Never mind. All right. What would you give this movie out of 10?
Oof. I really enjoyed this movie a whole lot more than the first.
Yeah.
I really had a lot of fun watching it. The first time I watched it, not so much. Although I did enjoy it, not on the level of the second viewing.
Right.
Now in my head, it's a Halloween classic.
Of course.
I'm going to have to give it a very strong, hear me out, 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, a 7.5 is totally understandable. Where'd you get a dog from?
Oh, don't worry about it. It's all good.
Okay. Anyways, I'm feeling a 6.5 for myself for the second movie.
That's fair.
It has its weak points for sure. The lows are really low for me in this movie, especially with that weak little finale. But overall, it was a decent movie. It was enjoyable.
That's fair. I think with the rewatch, it might go up a little bit higher.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
But yeah, that's fair enough. I think a lot of people would agree.
Ready to move on to the third one?
Yes.
Alrighty. So this third one actually comes 5 years after the last movie. Art has found himself back in the town of Miles County, just in time for the holidays. And just as Sienna and Jonathan are beginning to move on from their traumas from the last movie, until, they encounter Art again, which is a whole nother bag of worms. So what do you think about this third movie?
Oh, this was a wonderful little Halloween treat.
Wasn't it?
It really was. Seeing it in theaters was awesome.
I know. I mean, this movie, I don't know about you, I think this is the best one of the franchise, easily.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Yeah, a lot of franchise bests in this one. I mean, David Howard Thornton, in my opinion, perfects Art the Clown in this one. Whether you're talking about that really hilarious scene from the bar where he sees Santa and this whole like childlike wonder comes over him. He pushes the two drunk girls out of the way. And he's just so cheery throughout the movie.
I love that entire scene when his little
Right?
giddy smile in the window, and then when he pushes the girls out the way, his like little walk with his bag. He's
Right.
like very extravagant movement.
Exactly.
You know, from David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
David Howard Thorne literally perfects Art the Clown in this movie, I think.
Yeah.
He truly brings the character up to here in terms of the comedic gestures he gives, and I think that serves as a great contrast to the horrific things in this movie that he does. Same with this movie in general. It has this really great Christmas cheery feel of it. Meanwhile, the contrast to the background of all these people being killed, the beginning scene being the hugest contrast of all, the family going to sleep on Christmas Eve, literally so happy to wake up on Christmas Day, and only for Art to come in and spoil the fun, to put it lightly. Wah, wah. Anyways, I really like the new relationship we find in this one, because Sienna, you know, she's had just gotten out of a mental rehabilitation center, and she goes to live with her distant relatives, right? She's got her Uncle Greg, her cousin Gabby, and I forget the aunt's name, but we really see a new side of Sienna in this movie that we hadn't seen in any of the previous ones, because that one she was just dealing with the death of her dad. In this one, she kind of has to put on a happy face for her cousin Gabby, who's a lot younger than her. And it's the holidays, because like, who can stay mad during the holidays, right?
Oh,
Yeah, we all know who can stay mad on the holidays, but
quite easy.
it's quite easy for him. Anyways, another plus of this movie is Victoria's character, who is a sister from the first movie, who at the end of that one got her face all eaten up, I think, by Art the Clown. The second movie, I think she was just in the post-credit scene when she shat out Art's head. And in this one, she gets a whole little arc. We find out what's taking control of her, because in the first one, she lashed out once her face got all torn up, which can be chalked up to like her not being too fond of her situation that she's in. But in the second one and this one, she's acting very, very uncharacteristic from the person she used to be. But it's finally explained, you know? We don't get an explanation from the little smiling girl, but we get an explanation from her, which I think is really cool. Not to mention how this movie has better pacing, better character moments. Also has some lacking character moments, which I'll get to in a second. But what did you like about this movie?
What is there not to like about this
Truly.
movie?
It's a Christmas and Halloween classic. The best since Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, no, really. It's everything about it's great. Let's start with one. The acting is great. The plot is great.
Oh, yeah.
The cinematography is wonderful. It's such a great homage to the 80s and 90s slashers that came before it. Like, really, it doesn't do too much, but that's not what the movie needs to do.
Right.
It's perfect. It's, you know, although it's simple, it's beautiful to look at. The effects are great.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, the past two movies, you watch it and you think to yourself, how can anything surpass this? How can anything be better than this?
This movie does it.
It does it, and it does it easy, you know.
What I'm glad
It's
is that this movie doesn't try to one up the kills it did before, because I don't think this one lives up to the bedroom or the upside down hanging scene.
No.
But it does have some very, very, very gory kills. Specifically the bathroom one. Geez, that was a hard image to get out of my head. Especially as a guy.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of person you are and which
Right.
which movie will make you scream, you know, more squeamish.
Yeah.
Which movie will make you scream?
Which movie will make you fiend?
Overall, this movie, amazing. Amazing job by everyone, you know, a part of it. It's super fun to watch, and I can't wait to, you know, as the years go by, keep rewatching it every Halloween season, bring it back up, you know, show new people who aren't familiar with Art the Clown.
Right.
Show them this trilogy. It's going to be awesome.
Right, you know. I mean, with this movie, it is such a huge step up. This one had a $2 million budget, which, I mean, that's a huge step up from the previous ones. I still think it feels a little under budget the way it was going about things. I mean, of course, it is under budget compared to a lot of modern day movies. They get millions and millions of dollars. This one only got $2. So, I mean, you can only go and figure there. But I think a lot of the heart and soul of Damien Leone, the director, and the actress Lauren Lavera, which I hope I'm saying that right, but the actress that plays Sienna, she really does bring it her A game in this movie. Similar how to Melissa Barrera, she got a lot of slack for Scream 5, so there she came into Scream 6 looking for something to prove, and I think that's a really cool part of this movie. Some things I didn't really like about this movie was the kind of like the Uncle Greg character I mentioned. I think his character is a little all over the place. You see in one scene, he's bringing in Sienna, who's really been through a lot in the past movie, into his family home. And then the second she arrives and shows that she's not the most mentally capable person, he's like, I don't really know if this was such a good idea to bring her around our daughter. And it's kind of like,
oh, really?
Really? You think that now? Okay. Another few little bits and pieces scattered around this movie with him, saying like, there is no clown, Sienna. It's like, there's...
Oh, really?
Oh, really? It's like, we've seen the town talk about Art the Clown, and for him to just like diminish like what she's been through, like, what do you think, like she made it up and all that? But I think he was just a huge question mark in this movie with, like doubting his niece and all that. Another thing I didn't really like about this movie was the finale. I think it just creeps up on you and it's like, oh, now it's happening. Also in the finale, we get the reveal that Jonathan bit it off screen, which genuinely pissed me off. I think it tainted a bit of the movie for me. I thought Jonathan and Sienna's relationship in the previous one was its strongest part. And we didn't really get a lot of that because he was off to college, she was with the relatives, and we didn't really get a lot of scenes with him. And unfortunately, of all ways he could have gone off, he went off screen, which, kind of makes you think, oh, like, was that fake? Was that real? I mean, it brings a lot of questions towards it, but I mean, the way the movie ended, and I doubt part 4 will bring him back, I think it's safe to say that Jonathan is a character that's really been killed off, it really sucks because I really like the guy. But I mean, yeah, I think this movie does a lot of things better. It still has a fair share of issues, whether that's kind of like some cliche writing, maybe a little bit of just amateurish decisions and spontaneous decisions that didn't really feel like they were thought all the way through before they put it in the film. But I mean, some great kills. Art the Clown is at his best, and I really can't wait to see what they do with this 4th one. What about you?
I am Art's biggest fan.
Are you now?
I don't think he did anything wrong.
Really? You think justice for Art? Really?
Justice for Art.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Justice for Art. So what would you rate this movie?
I give the movie.
we're literally morphed into the Gambit for a second. I give the movie.
I give this movie 8.5.
That's understandable. I think this one's really enjoyable, but still a little too many flaws for me. I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10. No! I know. Boo. Tomato. I get it. But yeah. So what do we think about like the franchise overall?
Future classic, obviously.
Oh yeah.
I think what's gonna be rough for some people are watching the first and second movies.
Yeah, because they're not the best. But this one's a good introductory one.
Yes.
Surprisingly enough, the Art's like little like his iconicism. I don't know how to say that, but like he's in Hot Topic, he's in Spencer's. Dude's like literally everywhere. He's in Spirit. It's so wild how many people are introducing their kids to the Terrifier series because it's like
it's awful.
Have you seen these movies? Like when we went to go see the 3rd one, there was a kid behind us. Like it's like what?
Yeah, I guarantee like the people, those people have not seen a single Terrifier movie.
Exactly.
Because this isn't like your average like
let's go see the scary clown movie. Huh?
Yeah, or
it can't be that bad, kids.
Like Jason or Freddy. It's not like those kind of movies where it's cheesy and campy.
It's that bad.
Yeah, like it's bad. It's bad.
It's not good.
It's not like that. It's a lot a lot more meaner than those movies.
Yeah. In all honesty, I gotta agree with you. But I mean, yeah, this franchise has its flaws. It also has its pros. And I think the good thing to take away from this franchise is that don't look into these movies expecting an Oscar-winning, Oscar-worthy moment, you know? These movies are pure popcorn fun, even though I wouldn't recommend eating during them. They're meant to be fun, and while they're not always at times, they do have very fun moments in and in between. I think this franchise is really worthy of all the praise it gets. So if y'all at home are wondering if y'all should watch this franchise, I highly recommend doing so. It is one of our more favorite horror franchises as of recently. And guys, I think that's our video. Alrighty. If you guys have any other recommendations, movies you want us to talk about, I know we just watched Mandy. That's certainly a movie we could do. But yeah, if you guys just want to have a little conversation in the comments what y'all think about this franchise, the horror genre overall. But yeah, that's our video. Thank you guys for watching. If you all want to see more from us, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. But we have been the Late Night Movie Service. Thank y'all for watching. Have a good night.